And welcome back. And we're at part 4 of last week's new comics, bitches! So, let's get right to it. So, as I promised in the last segment, this is going to be both Surprise of the Week and Book of the Week. So let's get on to Surprise of the Week. Surprise of the Week is Fear Itself, Book 5. This was just about everything that I hoped it would be. Because obviously the last issue teased, okay, there's going to be, it's going to be called Brawl. And you're going to have Thor fighting the Serpentified Hulk and the Serpentified Thing. So basically these three, the three heaviest hitters in the entirety of the Marvel Universe, and they're going to go at it. There's going to be a menage a trois of serious violence. And it's, peppered in with some cool moments like, Steve Rogers, the new Cap, going up against Sin. But obviously the big centerpiece here is the fight. But we do have some other really cool moments, like Tony basically, kind of sacrificing his sobriety so that he can have an audience with Odin. And he's not there to kind of supplicate himself or to fall at his feet, and that's of course what Odin thinks. And of course Tony just thinks this is horrifically arrogant of Odin, but Odin is a god, so that's basically explaining what I do whenever I'm about to go into battle. I make weapons. I make really, really good weapons, and I don't want your basically saying I don't want your help. I want your workshop. So that doesn't come in this issue, but I'm really looking forward to that, to see what Tony can build out of Odin's kind of war workshop. What does happen here in the issue, which was a pretty massive surprise, was Thor does actually call Mjolnir to him, and it punches right through the Thing, essentially killing him. And of course Hulk is still there, and Thor has this great moment where he says, after he's just basically kind of killed the Thing, and says, and him I liked. So he's like, but and this is the Hulk, I'm gonna even quote it here, you were always a giant pain in the ass. And so, he is looking to kill the Hulk. No holds barred. He's not gonna, he's just not gonna have it anymore. Now, basically, the Serpent, Odin's brother, who's now been identified as Odin's brother, comes to the earthly plane, and basically says, Cap is the only one there at the time, and he says, today's the day that your world dies. But then the Avengers come out, and seem like they're in total ass-kicking mode, but one swing of the serpent's hammer, and they are just knocked all to shit. And of course, the another potentially sad thing here, and something that was teased in some of the ads here, was that Cap throws his shield at Serpent. Serpent grabs it and snaps it. The unbreakable vibranium adamantium combo, and it gets broken. And then there's, the big moment that ends up actually being between Cap and Spidey, in which they do come to sort of a realization here. But of course, the only thing that I didn't care for, but it still works within the context of the comic, because this is supposed to be a status quo shaking event here, because all event comics, they do shake up the status quo. That's basically their design. But how basically I thought they were going to leave the Thing dead, but no. Franklin, with his reality altering powers, restores Ben. I think more out of the sense, and I think it works in the sense that Johnny Storm has just died. Let's not add to the body count here. I think that would be. I think too many people would have been kind of felt sucky by that. It was still. I mean, it's definitely. This is one of those series that it started off kind of meh. I actually thought some of the tie-ins were kind of cool, but then it was like nah again, and then the tie-ins started kind of sucking, but then the actual main series picked up pace. Stuart's Immonen, however you pronounce his last name. I've neglected to mention his art, and it's really good. It's really, really, really good art. Matt Fraction, he's obviously a little off the wall, but he really seems to be stepping up to what this series can be. And I'm hoping that before we get too much further, by the end of this series, by the end of the 7-part series, that we will get something really cool that will happen, other than just the death of Bucky, because that's the only thing that we've had that's really kind of shattered, that's shaken things up. Because Cap has actually put his shield back together before, back in Secret Wars, although extranormal powers had to be involved in that. Book of the week: Batman Detective Comics number 881. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that Scott Snyder's run on Detective Comics here has been probably one of the best runs of detective that I've ever seen. Now, it's had some really good company lately. Paul Dini and Dustin Nguyen did some great work on this comic. So, I mean, like I said, it's not too, even when Paul Dini, and also when Paul Dini was working with J.H. Williams III, great stuff. But this is so far beyond what was going on then that it brings it to a whole new level. This has been such a tremendous, awesome, brilliant, fantastic run. This comic right here is a perfect 10 out of 10. And this is going to go down as probably one of the great issues of the year. I know I've said that more than I think I have in any recent year, where I've sat down and I've read so many really great comics and really great single issues of a comic. And this is just, the perfect end to a perfect run. Because obviously after this, Snyder's going to be working on Batman, and he will no longer be working with either Jock or Francesco Francavilla, whose art has just kicked an inordinate amount of ass all the way through this run. Like I've said myself, and what's so great about this particular issue is that we're treated to both Jock's and Francavilla's art, and it's so great, the mix of the mix here. What I've loved about this series is that it's very much like what Brubaker did with Cap when he restarted him. And I'm not talking about the recent restart. I'm talking about the one from back from 2003 or 2004, whenever that exactly started. When, you know, basically one of the first things he did was bring Bucky back. This reminds me of that because the concentration here is not on the action, but that is an important and big part of it. It's on the character, the characters of, you know, of Dick Grayson, you know, the characters, you know, character of Damian, character of Tim. But more often than not, the most special parts of this comic to me are the moments of Jim Gordon. And this comic has those moments. I mean, obviously what we have to deal with here is that, yes, we have Barbara has been essentially taken captive by James Jr., who has, you know, obviously revealed himself to be the, you know, huge psychopath. And everything that's been happening during this entire run pretty much has almost been his machinations, however you want to pronounce it. It works both ways. But, you know, even so far as like the whole thing with the dealer and, you know, the crowbar that supposedly killed Jason Todd, you know, these are, you know, to, you know, not the killer shark, or, you know, the pirate guy. That wasn't, that really didn't have anything to do with him. But, you know, that he's been responsible while a lot of what's happening, and that he's known that this Dick Grayson was this new Batman pretty much from the beginning. And then the moments that we have between James Jr. and Barbara, that's all done by Francavilla, and the rest of the stuff is done by Jock. So it's a wonderful kind of bookend, and it's and what he's done to Barbara is just horrifying, really. He stuck basically knives in both of her legs, and, you know, kind of fastened them in because they're in, you know, her femoral artery or something of that sense. But, you know, it's just it breaks, you know. There's even a throwback, I would say, I think, to going back all the way to Batman Year One, the Miller Mazzucchelli masterpiece. I think that this comic's actually specifically referencing that. It's just Scott Snyder, Jock, Francesco Francavilla have brought us some extraordinary work on Detective Comics. For those of you who are out there who have not been reading Detective Comics since Scott Snyder took it over, do yourself a favor. Well, one of two things. Either A, get together some money, go buy some back issues from the start of his run to the most recent issue. Every single one of them is worth about any dollar amount that you could put on them. Or wait for the trades. There might even be one out. Because it really has been the best take on a character since, you know, kind of, like I said, since Ed Brubaker started writing Cap. Not a reinterpretation, but just a reinvigoration of the character. I'm going to miss Dick as Batman. So, again, also a bittersweet ending here, in a lot of ways, because it's the end of their run. It's the end of, you know, it's the end of Dick as being Batman. Doesn't quite come out and say that, but obviously we know. So, my congratulations, boys. You've done a hell of a great job. So that's it for the Shadow Gallery for this week. Like it, don't like it, comment, criticize, subscribe. I love you. We'll see you next time.